I'm a big believer in succession planning, looking to the future. So to me, the board composition remake was the number one thing on my list of things to tackle. That was probably the only one that was very, I would say, very prescriptive in what I really want to kind of come to conclusion, because we had a couple starts and stops in that conversation. But to really get to the finish line of, oh, we're going to do this, and if we are going to do it, how shall we do it, and how shall we devise it as such? So that was probably the one big issue that I really wanted the board to really look at. If it turned out we didn't get there, then that's okay too. But I really wanted us to get to yay or nay in making that decision how to get there. And then there were things that I had to react to that just came about during my presidency. One was the pandemic, and switching to a virtual format. You also had some other things to react to, including the pediatric sub-certification, modifications of some of the blueprint and the original vision for what that would look like. We had the sleep sub-certification issues that came up also during my board time. What has happened, as you know, in medicine has become increasingly complicated with lots of stakeholders and lots of multifaceted missions that the board must address. So having the right composition of the board to reflect our constituents, which are in many cases the physicians and the healthcare entities that intersect with our specialty, and making sure that we are looking at the landscape of medicine and making sure that we are well positioned to answer the questions that our community and our other stakeholders need. So it's in the spirit of this, this wave of inclusion and being relevant to the times, of changing times, to make sure that our makeup reflects the group that we represent, but also making sure that we have the content expertise to answer those questions as best as we can. So as the board shifts a little bit more into governance, making sure pieces of that are really truly important, and the big work of the operations of the exam and the exam and certification pieces, which is again the core business of the board, we restructure so that we have a larger inclusion of other people that can help us in that and bring the content expertise of those very select, I would call it knowledge content expertise, and that we can tap into many people in our specialty, not just at the board level. So in some ways, we're spreading the wealth and the burden of having the material expertise be, represented by a larger group, but having the governance expertise be more dedicated to the new board members that are, I think, a better makeup of what the board needs to be. When I look back on it at the time, we were thinking, how long will this be? Will it be 2 months? Will it be 6 months? Will it be 1 year? Will it be 5 years? How long are we going to be on pause? And so I think that was the biggest unknown. If we just sit tight for a little while, maybe we can just go back to business as usual, in X amount of months and just do what we always did. But as the rolling months happened, the realization was that this was not going to be a 3-month or 6-month entity. And we couldn't put people's lives on hold forever, or forever in a longer sense. And so it was our duty to continue to certify physicians as they go out into practice. So that's when the decision was made. We need another plan. Kudos to Brian Nussenbaum and his staff for making that happen. I mean, it was pretty amazing, quite honestly, that they were able to pull it off. The amount of time, effort, and thoughtfulness that they went through to make it happen and make it successful. Again, it's so easy to say, yes, we did it, but gosh, it could have went so badly on so many levels. But we were successful in pulling it off. And again, they deserve all the credit. From a public standpoint, wouldn't you want to know that the physician that's taking care of you is, quote, being asked to be up to date on a regular basis, just to kind of continual cadence of the ping all the time, just makes sense. And I think from a physician standpoint, it why put a stressor on a 10-year mark when the reality is you have stress every day. So then you already have the built-in stress of keeping your knowledge up to date. So why not have it reflected on a more real-time basis? So I see that as just again, one of those things that would seem so obvious. Now that we do it, I'm thinking, why do we do a 10-year renewal time? Doesn't even make sense, quite honestly, if I really think about it. Even instead taking a step backward, why do we never even have a recheck on initial certification? How did that not come to be? So the idea of keep making sure that your physician's up to date and monitoring that in a good way, in a way that's user-friendly, it just seems to make so much sense, like we do in every other industry. I think that's something that all physicians can agree on. You may not always agree upon the format. You may not always agree upon the length of an exam or the content of the exam or the exact question, but we can all agree upon that we want to serve our public the best we can. And so when you lead with that as a true north principle, then the rest the details that have to happen will happen. And that's where the exchange happens. We have a lot of, town halls, back and forth discussions. This is where the diversity of the board really helps. This is where the reach out to specialty societies for their input and feedback on thoughts and processes. This is where there's like this inner think tank. We have another education council that meets together. So this is where that that organic and bidirectional feedback that has to happen. But again, centering of why you need to do it is always at the public level. And that's something I think every physician can agree upon.